Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are really getting into the engine room of a great golf shot, and that is club face control.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for anyone who's ever fought a hook or, that dreaded slice, this is everything. Why is it so important for you to get this? Because that club face, it dictates everything. Where the ball starts, where it ends up.
It's the final word, isn't it? It's the ultimate source of precision. But, the mechanics behind it can feel a little bit mystical.
Completely.
So our mission today is to simplify that, to pull back the curtain on that incredibly fast chain reaction in the downswing. We've gone through some amazing analysis, deep data from motion capture studies to find the one central thing that separates elite players from the rest of us.
And that's this microscopic relationship between the hands and the club face.
Exactly.
And we should be clear, the sources we're pulling from, people like Henrik Jensch, this isn't about feel or opinion. This is pure measured physics.
Absolutely. This is data from advanced 3D motion analysis systems. And what that data shows is, well, it's kind of the Rosetta Stone for control.
Okay.
The back of the left hand acts as a direct physical mirror for the club face.
Wow. Okay, so that's a huge claim. You're saying the wrist movements are the most crucial variable in the entire swing.
I am. It means the back of your left hand is the control panel.
So if I want to know what my club face is doing, I just need to look at my left hand.
That's it. If the back of your left hand is pointing up a bit at impact, the face is open, you're slicing.
And if it's pointing down?
You're hooking. It's that direct. And the elite players, they might not think about it in those terms, but their bodies execute a very specific sequence to manage that left hand against, enormous physical forces.
Which brings us to the data, because what we see in the pros isn't random. It's a highly structured, almost programmed sequence.
Right, what the analysis calls the elite movement trio.
The elite movement trio.
Yeah, it's 3 specific wrist movements all working together. And the data doesn't just tell us what they are, it tells us the precise order they happen in.
Okay, so lay it out for us. What's the trio, and where does this whole complex dance even begin?
It all kicks off right at the top in the transition from backswing to downswing. The 3 movements are 1, wrist flexion.
Okay, bowing the wrist.
2, ulnar deviation.
It's a downward hinging.
And 3, supination, which is that final rotation to square everything up. But the real genius, the secret sauce, is in the sequencing.
Okay, I have to stop you there, because this sounds like it flies in the face of what a lot of us are taught. We're always told, start the downswing with your hips, fire the lower body. Are these sources saying the hands actually move first before the hips even really get going?
It does sound contradictory, but the data on the control sequence is crystal clear. While the hips, yes, they initiate the power sequence, the hands immediately initiate the club face control sequence.
Wow.
The very first measurable action in these elite players is they flex their left wrist.
So the back of the left hand bows in toward the forearm. Why there? Why is that the very first move?
Flexion is a strategic move, and this is where the physics gets really cool. Think about the forces when you change direction that fast.
Right.
The sources say those forces could be up to 4 times the static weight of the club head.
4 times. That's immense.
It's huge. And without some immediate structural integrity, that club head is just going to twist open from inertia.
And you've lost control before you've even started.
Instantly. So flexion isn't just creating an angle, it's a structural necessity. It presets the club face a little closed, which stabilizes it against those forces. You're locking down the control panel early.
So that gives you the stability to handle all that speed and acceleration that's about to happen. So if I'm at the top and I feel my wrist cupping or extending,
You've already missed that critical first step.
I'm starting from a weak position.
Exactly. You're starting with an open face that you'll have to desperately try and save later on. The pros start with stability. They start with flexion.
Okay, stability is locked in. Now we need the power. What happens right after that?
Immediately after flexion, you see the start of the second key move, ulnar deviation.
Which we said is that downward hinging of the wrist.
Correct, toward the little finger side.
And this is the lag that everyone is always chasing, right?
This is the move that maintains lag, yes.
Yeah.
When a pro flexes and then immediately starts that ulnar deviation,
Yeah.
they're delaying the release of that angle. They're holding onto that stored energy.
The difference between 80 miles an hour and, 120.
That's it. So if you start the downswing with that flexion and deviation, you are basically guaranteeing 2 things: a stable club face and maximum power storage all the way down to the ball.
So the big takeaway here is stability first with flexion, then power storage with that ulnar deviation.
Mm.
And it's not one single motion
No, it's a deliberate sequence.
happening in milliseconds.
Mm.
And that timing is what makes a pro a pro.
It's absolutely crucial. Those first two moves, in that order, set the stage for everything that follows. They make the perfect release possible.
Okay, let's talk about that release sequence, because this is where power has to become accuracy. We've got the angle set, the power is stored. How do they unwind all of that and get the face square?
It's an unwinding process, and the timing has to be impeccable. So
Mhm.
the left wrist flexion is already there, keeping things stable. Next comes the unhinging.
So releasing the energy from that ulnar deviation.
Right, a controlled release of all that stored energy.
Mhm.
But we call it unhinging, and it is a release, but it's not a throw. It's a very systematic, very aggressive unwinding.
Right.
But the final move, the one that guarantees a square face, that's when the wrist supinates.
Supination, the rotation of the forearm and wrist. So that's the last little micro adjustment.
The final piece, think of it like your left hand turning counterclockwise for a righty. It's not subtle either. It's like slamming a door shut with your forearm.
Slamming a door shut. I like that.
It's an insurance policy. It ensures the club case is closing and getting perfectly square at the exact microsecond of impact.
So what here for accuracy is just massive. If you've
Yeah.
got that sequence, right flexion, unhinging, then that aggressive supination, you are delivering a perfectly square club face.
That's how they hit those laser straight shots. Precision timing creates precision results.
And managing those three things, that's what separates a clean strike from, a glancing blow.
It is. But to really appreciate the genius of that pro sequence, you have to see what goes wrong for most of us.
Right. So if the pros are defined by that precision sequence, then what about the rest of us, the amateur golfer? We fall right into the casting trap.
The perfect bridge. Casting is the #1 enemy, and it's a sequential error. It's releasing that wrist hinge, all that stored energy, way too early.
So instead of that stable flexion at the top,
The amateur starts releasing that lag right away. They're throwing it from the top.
they're trying to generate speed, but they're doing it subconsciously by just, throwing the club head at the ball. It's like firing a cannon too early. All the power just leaks out.
That's a great way to put it. And the chain reaction is just crippling for your golf shot. First, the club releases, and it almost always opens up too soon.
Right.
And that early release means you can't do the controlled supination and flexion you need later on because you've already spent it. The whole system is broken.
And as a golfer, you feel that happening, right? You feel the face is open, you feel like you have no speed, and you try to save it.
Oh, you absolutely try to save it. You'll see high handicappers trying to force some supination or flexion halfway down, trying to play catch up with a club face that's already out of control.
But it's too late.
The data says it's almost always too late. That early leak of energy, the cafting, has already sealed your fate.
So where the pros sequence is deliberate and stable, the amateurs is panicked and untimely.
And the outcome is predictable. An open club phase at impact. That's where you get the glancing blows, the ugly pushes, the shots that just die and go off to the right. It's not a strength problem.
It's a microscopic timing problem.
Involving just those 3 small movements. That is the core takeaway.
This is just, it's such actionable knowledge. So let's wrap this up with the recipe for success. What's the transfer here for the listener?
Okay, the recipe for a perfect delivery, it's 3 things in a very specific order. First, wrist flexion, the bowing, to stabilize the face right at the start of the transition.
Step 1, stability.
Second, the controlled downward hinging ulnar deviation to store and maintain your lag.
Step 2, power storage.
And third, the aggressive supination, that rotation, to square the face at the perfect moment.
And I guess the final piece of advice for you, the learner, is really focusing on that timing, mastering the sequence, but at just the right moments.
Yes, it's efficiency and precision that get the results, not just swinging hard.
Right.
And by really internalizing this, the how and the when of those 3 wrist moves, you gain real control over the club face. It stops being a game of chance and it becomes a game of, controlled variables.
It really is an elegant solution to a very complex problem. It makes you think, if the difference between a pro hitting a 300-yard drive down the middle and an amateur hitting it 180 yards into the trees, if that really comes down to the sequence and timing of 3 tiny wrist movements, it makes you wonder, what small timed decisions in business or in your career control the path of these huge, complex projects? Getting those fundamental steps in the exact right order, maybe that's the secret to massive success in more than just golf. It's definitely something to mull over.